Welcome into Sports Around the Bar. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And again, today we have a ton of football to talk about, Drew. I don't know about you, man. That was a pretty good set of games for what I was kind of expecting on Thanksgiving. I was entertained by most of it. Cowboys let me down, but beyond that, I was pretty entertained.
Bills didn't let me down. I called that one.
Yeah, greatest team in the league, right? Can we just admit it?
Yeah.
I said it'd have to be a dominant performance. We'll talk about that in a minute. What? Before that, we are going to talk about the Bears and the Lions, as well as the Saints and the Falcons. We're going to talk about all three of those games, as well as everything else going on this week. Just about everybody's playing. The only teams we're missing are Sunday and Monday Night Football, which we will get to on Sunday night. We hope you're there to join us to talk about that. I'm glad we don't have to talk about it. All the Patriots are sick right now. I don't know who to pick, but it's been like a couple days of the flu. Maybe they shake it off. I want to pick this game right before it starts on Sunday.
Yeah, but there's some good games. I mean, there already was. Thanksgiving was a good set of games, and like you said, there's a bunch of good games coming up too. Some division rivals, some games like that. The Browns and the Steelers matching up again ever since that fiasco, that fight. Of course, you got the Raiders and the Chiefs that got flexed to a later afternoon game. But I think, to be honest with you, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but one of the best games is a game that did not get flexed. In San Francisco against the Ravens.
I totally agree with you. That is the game to watch. Both of these teams look like they might be the best in their respective conference. Could this be a pre-Super Bowl matchup?
It's a good possibility, no doubt. Hey, Sean, how's it going, man?
Yep, glad to see you, Sean, as well as everyone else in here. But before we get into all that, why don't we talk about Thursday's games?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the Bears and the Lions.
Okay.
This game, I was expecting a crap fest. I was. But they put up some points. Mitch Trubisky threw a little bit. It wasn't always pretty, but he looked better than we've seen Mitch Trubisky look this year, right? They got the job done. They put 24 points on the board. That's a win. I know the Lions aren't a great team, but they played tough all year.
Right. The Lions put up points very quickly with their young quarterback, and I'm not going to say his last name. I only heard it all Thursday, but then I forgot about it. But they put up points quickly. It kind of got the Bears out of rhythm, but finally they slowed themselves down a little bit and caught up and won the game. I still don't understand what Matt Nagy's problem is. I know they want to throw the ball. I know they want to make passing part of their offense, but run the rock. Run the rock. I don't understand. Montgomery looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good, and he only got like 70-some yards. I know he caught a receiving touchdown, but they just got away from it. I don't understand why they think they need to get away from the run. Beyond that, it kept them alive. The Lions are now out of – there's no way that they can get into the playoffs.
Mathematically eliminated.
They are done. Bears stay alive.
And I will say this, there's no reason to not play the rookie, right? Just like some of these other teams, why not see what you've got in him? He looked okay, especially against the Bears defense, which, again, hasn't been the Bears defense this year. But he looked all right. He put up some yards. There were a couple deep passes that I thought were funny. It came right after some people on the radio, because I was listening and watching the game at the same time, were like, oh, this guy's trash. He's terrible. Then he throws a bomb like early on in the game. I was entertained at least. I'm not going to say it was great. Maybe Jeff Driscoll puts out a better performance than what we saw out of them. Maybe Jeff Driscoll wins this game. But right now, with where the Lions are sitting, there's nothing wrong with testing your rookie and seeing how good he is and if this guy deserves a backup situation if you don't want to pay someone like Driscoll. Because I think Jeff Driscoll, if he keeps going and he plays a couple more games this year, might wind up with a pretty decent-sized contract.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Young man played 4 years in Purdue. Had his ups and downs, but he looked pretty good on the NFL stage. No doubt about it.
And Chris is saying the Ravens, jumping the gun a little bit, Chris, but that's okay, are going to beat the 49ers by 14. Ooh. What's the final of that then? How many points are going on the board here? Because both of these offenses have been pretty explosive. Both of the defenses have played well at times.
I think it's going to be a fast-paced game. They both like to run the rock. They both run it well.
56-40.
I just think the game's going to go too quickly for them to get that high.
Michael, good to see you, man. And Martavis says the Falcons are dead. Yes, but losing this, again, doesn't necessarily hurt you. At least they hung around. I mean, the Saints got way out in front, but they made it interesting at the end. All those onside kicks and everything, they made things interesting at the very least. The moral of the story is, what's going on with the offensive line? They just spent 2 first-round picks to fix this, and they let Matt Ryan get sacked 9 times. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, man, it wasn't just Cam Jordan. It wasn't just one guy. They destroyed this offensive line.
Michael's jumping in there already, too. He's saying the Niners will win 20-17, and Chris is saying 37-23 Ravens.
Interesting. Again, ask me when we get there, because I still haven't decided. I got nothing on the page here, Drew. I haven't even picked my teams yet.
Anything less? I mean, I don't want to say the Bears are dead. I know they're still mathematically...
They're on life support.
Possible of getting the playoffs, but they still look like they got way too much to to worry about. Is there anything else you want to talk about these two teams?
No. Just, I mean, I could talk about how both of them have disappointed me a little bit all year long. And it's just the battle of the disappointments. The Bears came away a little bit less disappointing than the Lions did.
I'll give you this. All the people that sat there and said that the Lions are going to be good this year, I know Ian is one of them. Hey, this team plays tough. And to be honest,
they've led in every single game this year.
They're just missing a few pieces. And it's not, I don't think there's a glaring hole. It's like just maybe poor play in some spots. But, you fix that through the draft and free agency, this might be a tough team next year.
Yep, one more. And that's kind of what we said in the offseason. We're like, hey, we like all these big bodies they're bringing up front. We like that they're trying to address that. We like that they're bringing in more weapons and trying to get more creative. And we didn't hate Matt Patricia last season. We weren't like, whoa, look out for this guy. But we were also saying the coaching hire is a pretty decent one. Another year, I think you might be right. We might be talking about a team that's challenging for a playoff spot right now on Thanksgiving Day, rather than coming into this just trying to play spoilers for a division rival.
Right.
Well, let's talk Bills and Cowboys. And I'm going to let you take the lead, man. What did you see when you picked the Bills? Was it just, I picked the Cowboys and you wanted to go the other way? Or did you have that read on this game that you said the Bills are going to win it?
No, I thought it was going to be a close game, but I do think that the Bills are a better team than a lot of people give them credit for. I mean, what's the old, the old Jets, no, not the Jets, Giants head coach, where he says you are what your record says you are.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a 9-3 team.
Weren't you just complaining that the Patriots haven't played anyone all year? Can they say the same thing?
Yeah, but they barely beat them.
They did.
I mean, they played them tough. I mean, the Bills just beat the Cowboys. I mean, a lot of people consider the Cowboys one of the better teams in the NFC.
Really?
They had the number one offense for a while.
They did, but they've also not beat a team with a winning record, and that's important too. They've bullied some bad teams, but how good are the Cowboys going in? What now? 0-6 against winning records?
Man,
that's my question, and I guess I was wrong for betting on Dak Prescott because he looked terrible in this game. I mean, is anyone arguing that this man's not a $40 million man?
It's not like I felt 100% comfortable saying, hey, they're going to win. But it doesn't really surprise me that they won.
I just think that the Bills live and die by that defense. And we've seen teams play like that. I mean, when they went last year, they lived and died by the defense. Or 2 years ago, I'm sorry, when they went and played the Jaguars in the playoffs, they lived and died by their defense, got in against a team that deserved to be facing them in the playoffs and came up short. Again, just like the Patriots, they have played an easy schedule at this point. Now, I'm not taking it away from them. They're 9-3. You can only beat who's in front of you. But even in that easy run, we have never seen the dominant performance that you're like, oh, wow, look at the Bills. This is a great team.
3 weeks ago, they scored 41 points.
I'm still not impressed, Drew. I'm not impressed.
Well, good to see. He says all he's got to say is Jets, Jets. Justin says, go Chiefs. Good to see you, man. Glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Will also says the Lions just need a back again, and they hadn't had one since the GOAT Barry Sanders.
Well, Kerryon Johnson got hurt too.
Well, hold on. I think Bo Scarborough has played really well. I mean, he honestly has played really well. I mean, he's running with force. He's running between the tackles.
And this isn't the type of the offensive line that they've built to run the ball. This is a pass-protecting offensive line built to protect Matt Stafford, and they're still having success.
Now you got Bo succeeding. Could you imagine what this would be with Kerryon Johnson and Bo splitting?
And Ty Johnson injured as well. Remember, Bo Scarborough is like their third or fourth pick at running back.
Their fourth.
Yeah, so it's not like they're going into this saying,
McKinnick or whatever it is.
It's J.D. McKissick.
There you go. Yeah.
So, again, yes, they need better running back play. But when you're on your fourth running back, sometimes you can say, we're getting pretty good value out of what we should be getting out of a guy like Bo Scarborough. And again, Bo Scarborough was not highly touted coming out of Alabama. Yeah, I think he was a 7th-round pick. He might have gone undrafted.
No, 7th. You're right.
But for what you're getting, I think Bo Scarborough's been pretty good. And I think you're absolutely right there, Drew.
Martavius says the Bills had put a nail in Garrett's coffin. Do you
I think
believe
as long as he's a yes man, I think they'll be fine. And they're talking about firing Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator, and Jason Garrett came out and said it's not the time. We're still in the playoff race, and I think he's right. I don't think you're going to want to rock the boat just because you had a bad game. And yeah, Dak Prescott looked bad. The offense made some questionable decisions. They're going for it on some weird plays here too, which I'm not crazy to see. Again, not even this week. 2 weeks ago when they were playing the Patriots and they go for it on 4th and 11, I made a big stink about that. They did it again on like 4th and 7 or 4th and 8 in this game. And it made more sense based on the situation. But they're trying all these long-range 4th downs a lot. They're playing overly aggressive. I understand they don't love the way their defense is playing right now, but still, it's not all on the offense. It's not all on Jason Garrett. A lot of it's the decision-making from Kellen Moore. I still don't think firing him in the middle of the playoff race and hoping that some interim's going to come in and spark an offense that was, like we said, just first in the league not too long ago is the right move when we're talking about what they've done across the course of the season.
It's so crazy to think just a little bit ago or a few weeks ago we were praising how well he was doing at play calling. To be honest, when I think about the Cowboys, I think about the disposal rumors that they heard a lot of yelling in the Cowboys locker room after the game and real disappointed. And Jerry Jones in tears in a press conference. And, you go back to last week and you look at that game against the Patriots. And, yeah, you can give the weather, probably the W there. But all the mistakes that were made, the drop passes, the terrible snaps, it's even though you lost to a great opponent in the Patriots, you'd think you'd want to fix some of that stuff up. So you'd think when you're coming in, going back to Dallas, you're getting to play, another great competitor out of the AFC, you would think that you're going to clean up some of that mess. And to be honest, it looks like they're still doing the exact same stuff.
Yeah, and you might be right, Martavius. This might be the last we see of Jason Garrett. But it doesn't happen until the offseason, number one. And number two, I still don't know that Jerry Jones is ready to move on from the guy that just does his bidding without any question. I really do think, if nothing else, you can say Jerry Jones has been loyal to Jason Garrett. Maybe overly loyal, but he's been loyal to him. I don't know. It's hard for me to predict because how many times have we said Jason Garrett's done in the past, Drew?
I agree.
Too many to count.
Michael says he thinks the team is falling apart all around, and so it's not just one piece.
Good thing the Eagles are too right now, right?
No joke.
Honestly,
and that was actually what I was listening to on Moving the Change on Sirius Radio. They were saying, could you imagine this team if they were in the NFC South or the NFC North, where they would be right now playing against like that kind of
or the West? All three of those of those divisions are so much better than the East is.
Anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think the East will get there. I think the Giants are on their way back. I think the Redskins, even though they're pretty much scraping rock bottom right now, I think eventually they'll get better. The question is, can Dan Snyder get out of his own way long enough to let that happen? No, I don't know about that as much.
They got to hire a coach that's willing to say no to Dan Snyder.
But that's the thing. Who hires the coach? The GM, who Dan Snyder also picks.
Right.
So again, I don't know, Drew. I think this is one of those situations that you've still got three teams that are coming back in the East. And yes, the Cowboys in another division would be probably, a 3 or 4 win team right now. We'd be talking about what could have been.
Yeah.
No
doubt. Let's get the last little part about this because Will brought it up. He says Dak is not worth the money. Well, here it is. They got to pay the man. There's no doubt about it.
Do they?
I mean, you're the one saying, like, you talk about when they have them and they've been playing them for a few years. I mean, is Dak?
But here's
the
thing.
Move on from Dak?
Yeah, will they? No, they're not. And I think Jerry Jones just wants his guys to be good. The problem is you're not a good team by wanting guys to be good. You're a good team because you make those hard decisions. You could have Andy Dalton for $15 million this offseason, maybe less. Think about how much defense you can buy. Think about how much you can buy with that extra $25 million. C.J. Mosley was like a $12 or $13 million man this offseason?
Yeah, but linebacker's not really their need.
Well, okay, but I'm saying, look at the caliber of player you can buy for that on defense. You can buy corners, you can buy defensive linemen, you can do whatever you need to buff up this team by not paying your quarterback $40 million. It's that simple. I mean, Andy Dalton could blow a primetime game on Thanksgiving for you in this kind of way. So, really, what are you getting? Is Dak Prescott better than Andy Dalton? I think so, yes. But how much better? That's the question. How much better? Is he $25 million better? I don't think so. Is he $5 million better? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know either. Michael Davis, good to see you, says, Cowboys culture is just terrible. They pump themselves up so much and they never face the reality. It all starts with Jerry Jones.
Well, I think, too, they're always in the media, right? Whenever the Cowboys are good, all the fan base gets stirred up. And all the radio and all the TV guys.
Team.
Exactly. Everyone's going to be talking about them. And then when they screw up, of course. I mean, look, the Eagles just played a terrible game last week, but we're not talking about them in the same way we're talking about the Cowboys. Part of it's just who you are, and you have to live up to that. I understand what you're saying. The scrutiny's there, and that can hurt the team. But it's always going to be that way. And you're right. If this is the Dolphins and they blew a game like this and now the Dolphins are 6-6, are we talking about the Dolphins like this? No, of course we're not. But sometimes you got to live up to those expectations.
I think you got to pay Dak. But do you not bring in a veteran presence? Maybe you do. Maybe you bring in a veteran presence and let him.
You're not going to afford him is the problem. Or at least not a good one. The veteran presence is Jeff Driscoll right now. I don't know.
I mean, you got to bring in somebody, right? Or if you draft, then you bring in somebody and you kind of put them on a short leash. That's kind of what you got to do.
I think if you don't get a deal, you move on. And I know he's run the number one offense here. Yeah, well, the average of the top 5 players. So when you
So-
franchise them, that's going to be pretty close to that. It's going to be somewhere
give
around
him one more
32 or
year, why
31.
not?
I'm not saying you can't. And then again, like you said, you take a swing at a couple draft picks. I would like that plan much better than saying here's a 5-year or $40 million a year contract or 38 or 37 when you're getting that kind of performance. If teams can barely get by with guys like Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers paying them that kind of money.
Yeah.
We've seen teams like the Packers take steps back. We've seen Russell Wilson take hits on his offensive line because they've not been able to afford guys to protect him. You can't do it with a guy as talented as Dak Prescott is because the rest of the team's just going to disintegrate.
They're not going to franchise tag him. They're going to sign him to a contract. The question is what is the amount they're going to sign him
And
to?
how much. Exactly. Because that's just who Jerry Jones is. I agree there. All right, we'll move on. Let's talk about Saints-Falcons.
One more comment, just because Michael Davis put it out there, and he got a good point. He said the Cowboys are a 9-3 talent with a 3-9 coach, so they're a 6-6 team.
But it's not just coaching. Again, it's coaching is a huge part of it. But
You talent.
sometimes at the end of the day, it's on the players to win some of these
talent
games.
outside the quarterback, maybe.
Like Amari Cooper dropping the pass too last week against the Patriots. Those are the moments you got to come up in.
Marcus Lawrence, you got those linebackers.
Van Der Esch and Lee, yeah.
You got
An offensive line that should be top 5,
we
top 10
always
in the
say
league.
they're really good.
And it's been a couple of years since they have been.
Exactly. So are they still good? I mean, that's the question. I mean, there's talent for sure, no doubt. I just don't know if they're. I just don't know if they're a 9-3 team because of, or what they're a 6-6 team because of their coach. I don't know. Who knows?
It's not all
Who
coaching.
knows?
Sometimes the players got to step up too. But coaching doesn't help.
A better coach would help.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
No doubt. I mean, like if Belichick or Andy Reid would go in there, it'd probably be a lot better of a scenario. But that's not the case.
Or
so
maybe like 26 other coaches in the NFL right now. Maybe Marvin Lewis too. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
But I'm with you. I think you're right, but I think you might be taking things a little bit to the extreme, Mike. Let's talk about the Saints and the Falcons. This game, again, out of hand, but then got interesting at the end. I think when you look at what Matt Ryan had to go through in that game, I was like, it's hard to believe they just spent 2 first-round picks on offensive linemen. And this just goes to show you, just because you're spending picks doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get competent players. I mean, I don't want to put it all on McGarry and the interior one, who I can't think of right now. I don't want to put it all on their offensive line, or the new offensive lineman. This whole unit is just absolutely terrible. Yeah, this whole unit is absolutely terrible.
Offense, right?
Yeah.
Eric McCoy, the rookie center. McCoy.
Was that right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll look it up, but that's okay.
Oh, it is. I'm telling you. It's McCoy. It's okay.
What did you think about this game? Because I watched it, dude. They just absolutely got mauled.
Oh, man. To be honest with you, I don't even know, man. I hate to bring it up, but it's just they've let me down. They disappointed me too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll go back from the very beginning of the offseason. I think it was a mistake to let Tevin Coleman go.
Chris Lindstrom, by the way, that offensive lineman you were talking about. Sorry. Continue.
McCoy is their center, though.
That is.
It's okay. It's not a big deal.
That is the Saints you're thinking of.
Oh.
I'm talking about the Falcons.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's why
He's been playing fine. He's actually been really good coming in. That's what I thought. I was like, I think he's a Saint, but I don't want to say it and then look stupid when I'm wrong.
I thought. Anyways, moving forward, Martavis sent it out there for us. Thank you, man. I want to bring it back to that. I think the run game has been literally a big issue. And I'm not saying Tevin Coleman was the answer to it, but I did like the duo of Coleman and Freeman. Freeman alone seems to be able to struggle consistently behind this offensive line, being able to get getting the run game going. And I mean, I know he's had a few good games, but that's not enough for a talented team like this. They have a great pass offense, but if everyone knows you're going to drop back and throw the ball, Matt Ryan's going to be under duress all game long. I mean, you can point fingers at the defense and saying that they're not playing that well, but for literally maybe 2 to 3 stars on that defense, they're playing a lot better than what they are on paper. And so this team has just disappointed me so much. And Martavius, I'm not even a fan of them, and you are. I couldn't even imagine what it is right now, because when you see this team and you think about, a few years back going to the Super Bowl and like all the talent you guys still realistically have, it's crazy to think that this team is where it's at and why they can't play better ball. There's really no answer to it. You can point your fingers at injuries. You could point your fingers at changing offensive coordinators.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that's the answer.
But
they lost Kyle Shanahan, who is now taking
but
an
there's still a lot of
under-talented group in the 49ers.
Okay,
and
I'll give you this.
Look how good they looked.
Who's more talented? Do you think that the Cowboys are more talented or on offense, or the Falcons are more talented?
The Cowboys, if you count the offensive line, by hands down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Pound for pound, Julio and Amari Cooper at this point, I'm not sure. 2 years ago, I would have said Amari Cooper's by far nowhere near as good as
Matt Ryan's
Julio
over
Jones.
Dak. Austin Hooper's over Jason.
Anything
Witten.
they've got it there. Yeah, sure.
I'll give it on the other side with Zeke Elliott and the offensive line, but then every receiving core, I would give it to Atlanta hands down.
I like the top two for Atlanta now that Mohamed Sanu's gone. I like Ridley and I like Julio, but again, you're talking about Randall Cobb, you're talking about Michael Gallup, who's looked good now and is starting to come up in the league. You've got Amari Cooper. I'm not as sure, Drew. Again, pound for pound. And then you take the offensive line into account, which, again, nobody talks about this. You win in the trenches, right? But they're the guys nobody ever talks about. Pound for pound, Atlanta's offensive line's been trash this year, and I think that's part of the problem. Again, Matt Ryan is not a scrambler. Matt Ryan's not moving in the pocket. Right. So when you don't protect him, bad things happen. Right. And it negatively impacts the way people think about it. Look at Kirk Cousins. Last year, everyone was like, this guy's absolute trash. This year, there was a period of time where he had the highest QBR through, like, what was it, like 10 weeks? 9 weeks? Protect your quarterback that can't move, and good things happen. Right now, Atlanta can't do that. And they've tried. They threw every first-round pick they could get their hands on at offensive lineman, and it hasn't fixed the problem. So I think that's the starting block for Atlanta. Fix this offensive line, run the ball a little bit more. And I know Martavis was saying he wished they hung on to Sarkisian, even though he was hard on him, instead of going with Dirk Koetter. Dirk Kotter's coming from the second or third rated offense in Tampa Bay. I don't think he's offensive coordinator here. I do like them getting rid of Sarkisian. I think more than anything, this is just talent. We're missing talent on the defense. We're missing talent on the offensive line.
Martavis says he honestly thinks that they'll let Freeman go. I kind of think the same thing, man. He's demanding too much cash space and not performing.
He did get paid, so I'm not sure. I'm not as sure about the realistic idea of cutting him this year, but he definitely hasn't been the guy he was before he got paid, and that happens a lot. That's not any, take your pick. Every team's got one that you're like, oh, this guy's going to be great, and then he gets that big contract he's looking for, and he's not the same guy afterward. The question is going to be, can he fix that, number one? And number two, how much of it's him and how much is the offensive line? Because I'm of the mindset that more than half of this problem is offensive line. If they're not protecting Matt Ryan and they're not run blocking, can you blame those two players for not performing?
I mean,
some of it, but what's the share? I think more than anything, this is offensive line. If you fix that, I think Devontae Freeman looks better. Maybe not as good as he was. He's getting older as a running back. But at the very least, he'll look closer to that product than what we're seeing now out of an offensive line that can't block me right now. They can block me, I'm kidding.
But the Falcons did beat the Eagles, and Michael goes, I hate to agree, but the Cowboys are a better offense than the Falcons. But the Martavis says Russell Gage and Christian Blick has stepped up since Sanu left.
You got some depth guys, but are any of them long-term starters in the league? Or do you see the upside? And everyone has their guys. Mine's Corey Davis. But everyone has the guys on their team that you're like, he's looking pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully one of those two guys develops and the other guy can still contribute in the offense and they move up from there. I don't mind them trading 31-year-old Sanu and getting a second-round pick. I think that's fine when you look at where the Falcons are at right now. I think all the ammo they can bring in the offseason, good thing, right? We agree?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Hopefully one of those guys develops. Even if they don't, this is going to be a super deep wide receiving group. The Falcons may take one. More than anything, though, I think they need to bring in some veterans in this offensive line. I think they need to spend a little bit of their cap space to bring in a veteran as opposed to going and drafting another young, unprepared offensive lineman. Unless they get one of these tackles. They're gonna be some great tackles. There's like 3 amazing tackles in this. One's from Iowa, one's from Alabama, one's from Georgia. And I think the right tackle from Alabama is pretty good too. So there's going to be some tackles in this draft.
I mean, I'm gonna stick with it. I get the Cowboys look good early on this season, and the Falcons have flopped. But I'm gonna stick with my guns. I think the Falcons have a better offense on paper. They just have not played up to par. I think that's why you see, the loss of Sanu. They're like he's expendable. Like we have some young guys that are coming up. I think it lacks in the running game. I think Matt Ryan cannot play well under pressure like any quarterback can't. Beyond that, I just think the Falcons are struggling, and they're going to be struggling again if they can't fix this. And I think you're absolutely right. I think it starts with the offensive line, and they got to fix that. Problem is they have so much glaring holes on the other side of the ball in defense that they got a lot to focus on there too. They need a pass rush. They need to focus on that secondary as well. They could use a good piece on on all three levels of that defense.
Absolutely, but I'm almost of the mindset that they need to follow the Giants level rebuilding, where they say we're just going to be good at one side of the ball, and then we'll fix the other. I think right now, Matt Ryan's, 33 now? 34, 32, somewhere in that range. You don't have a whole lot of prime quarterback play, because I think from 30 to 35 is about the best play any quarterback's going to give you. You got to protect him now. This has got to get turned around now, because if you keep letting him get hit, bad things are going to happen. You're going to shorten his career. You're going to turn him into Phillip Rivers. And nobody wants that, right? I mean, not out of a talented guy. I think right now the objective is fix that offensive line. Hopefully we work a little bit on the defense. We pick up some later round picks that develop everything else. But for now, if I'm the GM of the Atlanta Falcons, my whole goal is let me protect Matt Ryan, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have this guy if I don't.
Sean says he thinks the Cowboys are running out of time and the Bills are doing better. And Jake told you that the Buffalo Bills would beat the Dallas Cowboys.
You did tell me that, Sean. You're absolutely right on that one.
And he thinks that the Cowboys are going to need to fire their coach.
You and I think just about everybody in the room is going to agree with you. But will that happen? I don't think it will happen. Again, I've said it so many times before. Until I see it, I won't believe. Maybe I'm jaded, Drew, but I just don't believe that Garrett's going anywhere until I actually see it happen. As for what Jacob has to say, he says he has to say that the Cowboys are an up and down team. Yes, they're up when they play bad teams, and they're down when they play good ones, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get to the other side. Let's get to the other team, the New Orleans Saints. They clinched their division. Quincy Gardner-Johnson with his first interception. We loved him coming out of the draft. He's been pretty good in coverage. Also, shout out to Shy Tuttle, the defensive tackle, with his interception that threw the nastiest stiff arm you've ever seen in your life against a quarterback in that game. For a guy that was brought up by Butch Jones and had no prospect, he was a great player, never did anything in college, kind of snuck his way into the NFL. I didn't even know he was on the Saints. I was excited to see him make that play last night against the Falcons. So, beyond that, what do we need to say? Falcons are good, the Saints are good. I'm glad they beat the Falcons this time. Yep.
But if you have something, feel free.
No. All I was gonna say was Taysom Hill. I mean, that guy's he's just playing great football right now. He's a stud. He's all over the field.
Yeah.
Special teams, offense. I mean, this guy's playing great ball. And to be honest with you, he kind of reminds me of Mike Vrabel, for the Patriots, where he played linebacker, but then he also caught a bunch of touchdowns. Very, very, very universal and all across the board and during a game. Martavia says he's been saying it for years to fix the offensive line. Matt Ryan is the end of his career, and he wouldn't trust Thomas Dimitroff with his life.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you there. Also, Martavia says Matt Ryan has no business going for the tackle, but you got to appreciate the effort, right? The quarterback's the one who sets the tone. When he says, hey, season's not over, look, I'm trying to tackle a defensive tackle that intercepted me, the easy thing to do is just let him go. And that happens sometimes. Yeah. But when you see your quarterback out there trying to make a play, I think it's still a plus, because a lot of the other guys are like, all right, he's still playing hard. I need to up my game too. So I get it. It was an embarrassing moment, but it's still, I would rather that embarrassing moment. It's kind of like in the NBA when you watch a guy get dunked on. I would rather you get embarrassed 99 times out of 100 and then one time stop the dunk.
Yeah.
I would rather you get embarrassed 99 times out of 100, but one time stop the return.
All right, man. Well, those are all the games that were played. Let's talk about the games that have not been played yet.
Let's talk about the first one, which, again, sounds like the Tank Bowl. This is going to have some pretty heavy weight to it. The Bengals are in line to go draft Joe Burrow. Do they have any hope in this one?
So Andy Dalton is reinstated as the starting quarterback. Zach Taylor has come out and said,
we messed up.
Andy Dalton gives us our best option to win, and all we care about is winning a game.
That was the owner saying, get us one. I don't want to go totally defeated. I don't want to join the Lions.
Is this the game the Bengals get their first win?
If it's going to happen, it might need to.
The Jets are only a 3-point favorite.
Yeah. Well, at home. So, again, neutral site. Odds are, Vegas usually gives about 3-point swing for the home team. Neutral site, they think that the Jets win this one by 6.
I'm just saying.
Well, I know, but that's something that you need to take into account. Again,
it's favored by
because it's in Cincinnati. They have them favored. Or they only have them as a 3-point dog. That being said, I think the Jets have been very good against bad opponents. I think Sam Darnold's proven that, hey, you give him some time, he can make some things happen, even without the weapons that we think he should have. I think the Jets win this one. I think they're going to win it, and I think, again, Andy Dalton, having not played for a couple weeks, isn't going to look like Andy Dalton after he left the field. I think we're going to see a little bit of regression there. Still no A.J. Green. Apparently at this point, when do you just give up on him coming back? The season's already in the tank. I know they want to win one, but at what point do you say, he's 31, let's rest him up for next year and hope he can come back and give us something? This has got to be Jets, though, right?
Yeah,
Are you taking the totally defeated team to win here?
Let me get to these couple comments, and then I will get to it real quick. Sean, if you want to talk about the New York Yankees on Tuesday, man, we will talk about them again on Tuesday for sure. Michael says if you guys have time, thoughts on
the college football playoff top four.
Yeah, and the scenarios we think it will happen.
I think if Georgia and LSU battle it out in the SEC championship, both of those teams find their way into the playoff. Oregon obviously had that bad loss, so they're pretty much dead in the water. The question is, how much does the Pac-12 schedule kind of play into what the committee decides? At the end of the day, they're going to pick the teams they want to make the most money, but I think what we can all agree on is it doesn't need to be 4 teams, Martavis. It needs to be 8, because realistically, even I know Oregon had a bad loss today, and I know they lost to Auburn in week 1, which, throw that out, Auburn's a great team, and you lost to them like close in week 1. To me, that has almost no negative impact. There are about 8 teams in college football that need to be in this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe even 9 or 10, but realistically, you could cut it down to 8. As for the 4, if we're talking about scenarios, I'll round this out quick so we can get back to pro football. If the SEC battles close in the championship game, even if Georgia loses, I still think at 2 losses they get in. South Carolina isn't a terrible team. Georgia is going to get in if they can hang with LSU. If they win it, both of those teams are definitely in my opinion. Ohio State's cruising in. Clemson's cruising in. I think the wild card right now is, can Georgia get blown out by far enough that a team like Oklahoma or a team like Utah can be more appealing to the committee than what Georgia has done at this point?
Michael says Utah's only chance is if Alabama loses to Auburn.
And again, I haven't talked about Alabama because they did lose Tua Tagovailoa, even though they just blew out some FBS is the top series, some FCS opponent like 66-3. Ooh, good job, you're Alabama. I think they still find themselves on the outside looking in unless Georgia gets absolutely mauled, and then maybe they sneak in as that 4th team. But them losing their starting quarterback, there's going to be a lot of questions from the committee, I think, of when they play a team like LSU and when they play a team like even Georgia and Ohio State, are they going to be able to match up with a guy who's played 3 games this season? And I think that's the biggest question. And I think that's the biggest thing holding Alabama out. If Tua's here, they're in. Like, it's either Georgia or Alabama sneaking into that 4 spot. But with Tua out, I think there's a good chance that teams like Utah or a team like Oklahoma have a chance of pulling themselves back in if those teams can win out. And again, it really just depends on where they finish. So college football, again, still a little bit up in the air, but I think we can agree you'd like to see Oklahoma in there. I'd like to see Baylor get a second chance because they were undefeated. Minnesota, the same thing. 1 loss to me isn't bad enough. Penn State was up there for a while, even though I think they're further out than a lot of other teams because they haven't played as well. But there should be 8 teams in this playoff, and it's the fact that we're still debating whether 4 is good enough is ridiculous. Do what needs to be done to get that extra round in the playoffs, because there are constantly 8 teams in college football that can beat any team in the game on any given week.
I'll give you that. I agree. I'd like to see Utah in it. I'd like to see Alabama out.
And Michael also says Bama gets in with a Georgia loss and a convincing win over Auburn, but if it all depends on how big of a loss. If they lose to 3 to LSU in the SEC championship and their only other loss is to South Carolina, who did give Alabama trouble in the first half, I think you go Georgia. Even with 2 losses, because I don't see Alabama getting in with a backup quarterback. Again, this is all subjective. And if you're on the committee, if you're saying Alabama goes in with a backup quarterback over one of those guys because they blew out an FCS team and beat Auburn, again, it all depends on how well they win. Because if they beat Auburn 66-3, all that changes. But they're not beating Auburn 66-3. That'll be somewhat of a decent game.
Martavius says, I know this is off topic, but what are our thoughts about the AFL filing bankruptcy and ceasing operations?
Is he going for the AAF?
I think that's what he meant.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, we all saw it coming.
I don't know. I assume that's who he was talking about.
Clarify a little bit, and we'll give you a little bit more.
All right. Let's talk about the NFL, man. I think Andy Dalton's embarrassed. I think he's embarrassed that he got benched, even though it's really not on him. It's not like his play was so poor.
Sorry, not to interrupt. Michael Davis says Ohio State got in with a third-string quarterback and won it all. Yes, but he got multiple weeks of performances, looked good against good opponents doing it, and didn't really and when I say good, I mean subjectively when you look at their schedule. Obviously, Ohio State doesn't play an SEC-level schedule, but if you look at it, yes, they got in there with a highly touted backup that came in and looked good for multiple weeks. Alabama is going to get one game against Auburn here, which is a rivalry game, and that matters. If they don't absolutely demolish Auburn and Georgia doesn't absolutely get demolished by LSU, the committee's going to say, look, Georgia looked like the better team, and they've played good football outside of South Carolina. They still haven't allowed 20 points in a game yet. It's going to be Georgia. I think so. Maybe Alabama sneaks in. I'm not saying it's impossible. Again, when you're talking about Alabama and how storied they are, the committee could do anything. But I just think they're on the outside looking in because Tua is hurt. And yeah, Ohio State did it, but Ohio State also has the most alumni and top 3 or top 4 in fans across college football. So when you look at the financials, lo and behold, Ohio State sneaks in. I mean, any chance they get to put Ohio State in it, they're going to do it because there's so much more money to be made on the viewership. That's okay, though. Not that they're always undeserving, but I'm saying if you can have them and you're going to make money, you're going to put them in the game.
Let's go ahead and answer Martavis's question. Let's go ahead and assume it's the AAF, and we're talking about them filing bankruptcy and seizing operations. And my first thing is, it sucks it didn't work out. Kind of saw the writing on the wall, but to be honest, it had to be one. It had to be the AAF or it had to be the XFL. I don't really see two of these B leagues, D leagues, whatever you want to call them, playing at the same time. I don't think there's enough talent that's worth watching outside the NFL and college all at the same time to really sit there and put enough people on the field to make it worth the time watching.
I think you could if you caught... if you can make it 4 years and you're starting to get a steady supply of these college players that aren't quite good enough to make it in the NFL, I think eventually your product is going to be good enough. But it's money. Honest,
I like the more strong money behind a league than the AAF. So
and the deals they've made with ESPN and Fox, you're going to see more of the XFL. You're not going to have to go try and find it on NBC 38. That's all the way down in the cable. It's channel 796, but standard definition, so you got to find the HD. I like the deals that Vince McMahon's made. He's had the experience of the XFL before. As for the AAF, they just ran out of money, and then they brought in a snake in Tom Dundon who didn't want to support it. And I say he's a snake. Again, I don't know everything going on behind the scenes, but he pledged a lot of money and then pulled out when he wasn't getting the returns he wanted to see without honoring his commitments. So, again, I'm not crazy about that. I think they just didn't have the money in the investment. The deal is, with Vince McMahon, he's sold off a bunch of his WWE shares to make sure that this at least has the chance to have the legs underneath it to maybe somehow work if, maybe, and, but, whatever.
Oh, Arena Football League filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy Wednesday, ceasing all operations. He was wondering, do you think that some of those players would find spots on the NFL or the CFL team?
Maybe a couple. We've seen guys go from the Arena League to an AFL. I didn't either. I haven't heard it. That
must have totally went past my feed.
But then again, when was the last time anyone went to the Arena Football League?
It's been a while.
Yeah. Pretty much since the Nashville Cats left town, right? And they folded. So it's just one of those things.
Usually teams don't make it. They usually find themselves in the Canadian League.
Do I think you'll see a couple of guys translate? Maybe 1 or 2 or 3. And we saw that. I mean, Rob Baronis, famous Titans kicker, was a linebacker in the Arena League before he came to Tennessee. You'll see a couple of guys translate, and you'll see some guys get some workouts, and it'll kind of be like the AAF when they folded. You'll get 2 or 3 that stick, and most everyone else leaves.
One good to see you makes a great point if you want to read that one as I write his name down.
And Ian says, hey guys, the Arena League just filed for bankruptcy, so there's one must leave for the NFL to draw from. That'll help the XFL. I agree. To a point. Again, how many people are running out there to play or to go watch an Arena League game? And it happened. They took place a lot in the offseason too. I think the problem is they just moved the game so far away from what you're used to seeing on a football field that it didn't have the same capturing effect. I think the XFL will do better because the game will mirror the NFL more realistically. Even, I mean, Vince McMahon's admitted it. He says, we don't want to be that much different than the NFL. We tried that last time with like scrambles and all kinds of different rules and stuff for the XFL. He's like, people just want to watch football the way they know football.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a big advantage for the XFL, and I think that's also what hurts Arena League is because it's so different. You get receivers, running straight ahead, and the scores are always like basketball scores, where it's like 75 to 62.
Yeah.
I think if they can mirror the game of football a little more closely, they'll stand much more chances of surviving than any league that doesn't do that.
I mean, they shouldn't hang their heads low by any means. They lasted for a long, long time, and honestly, a very monopolized, market. I mean, the NFL and then the NCAA are monopolies in a sense when it comes to football.
Absolutely. And they had that deal that, like, hey, my guy's got to go to college so that you get your players still.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine if the NFL said, yeah, we'll take 18-year-olds? How much talent leaves the NCAA because they say, I don't want to go and stick my neck out and get hurt when I can just go get paid right now?
It's a good thing that isn't happening.
I agree, but again, I'm all for freedom of choice. I don't know. There are a couple of these young guys that are going to be good enough to make an NFL roster at 18. Not many, but some.
We got to get back to the NFL.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about my team. Let's talk about the Titans and Colts.
No, we did not finish. Jacob says, he has to say that Dalton is a disappointment. He's been there for 9 years and never won a playoff game. Okay, Jacob, I'll give you that. But he also took his team to the playoffs 5 years in a row. 5 years in a row. Dude, there's a lot of teams out there that has not had a quarterback that took his team to the playoffs 5 years in a row.
Or 5 years total.
Yeah. Drew Brees never done it. That done 5 years in a row.
He has done 5 years total, but not 5 in a row. But I'll say this.
Not 5. I'm talking about 5 in a row.
Sure. And I agree with you. The Bengals roster, if you look at them.
All in a row. That's it.
That's the biggest point. I mean, 5 out of 9 ain't bad, right?
Yeah, it's not.
You'd take that if your team goes every other year. But my point here is. Yeah. Or like.
The Jets?
Or like 20 teams in the league.
Yeah.
Anyone but the Patriots. You're like,
exactly.
Yeah, sign me up for it.
So, as a disappointment, I get it. He hasn't won. That's a huge issue. But, maybe he's just one of those guys when the pressure's upon him, he falters.
The other thing I would say is you're talking about a young quarterback. There's not a lot of young quarterbacks that succeed in the playoffs. Those playoff appearances all happened, in his first 5 years in the league. So, and since then...
6, 7 years? Yeah. Not the first year, but yeah.
Since then, what does this roster look like? Have they been in a position for him to get there?
Year.
Yeah. I think it was, but it might have been the second. So, still, let's talk about it. The past 3, they haven't been anywhere near competitive.
Right.
You can't hold that against him. He took his team there.
Terrible ownership.
They haven't succeeded, but sometimes it's not always on the quarterback. Okay, so he doesn't show up in big moments.
And Marvin Lewis
build a good team around him.
Build
a good team around him and sign him for super cheap this offseason, like he's probably going to be available for. You're probably off to the races. If the Bills had Andy Dalton right now, I'd be like, this team might actually be legit because he's throwing 250 yards every single game, and if I need him to, I can count on him a little bit.
This game you won't have to worry about. Remember,
sorry, Josh Allen fans.
But you might want to start writing these down because you picked the Jets. I'm actually going to pick the Bengals. I think Andy Dalton is going to go out there and play with the best of his ability, and he's going to give a win to these Bengals. The first win of the year. They won't win after this.
There are no guarantees. Well, they got Miami. Don't say never. Never say never, Drew.
That's true. They might have to. But I think the way Joe Mixon is playing and running the rock, I think that they'll just keep handing the ball off to him. And when it's time to throw the ball, Andy Dalton is accurate enough. You're going to see the Bengals get their first win.
The Jets are also one of the best run defenses in the league. Sam Darnold succeeds against weak defenses. I'll take that. I like the Jets here. I think it'll be close. I think Andy Dalton coming back in is the right move. I think they've had their fill of Ryan Finley, and they're like, okay, time to draft Joe Burrow. Right. He's not Peyton Manning, so let's move on.
They could win one game and still draft him. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unless there's that one. Well, no, even then. Dolphins have 2, so you're right. I don't know, Drew. I look at this one. Andy Dalton might be a little rusty here, even though he's going to have something to prove. I'll go with the opposite. I'm going to say the Jets win this one. Let's talk about the Titans and Colts.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about a game that actually matters.
It doesn't, but let's go.
Oh, it does, because both of these teams are in the hunt to win the AFC South and make a wild card appearance as well. Both of these teams need this win.
They do. Both of them do.
Both at 6-5 right now. This is going to be a interesting game because if you look at the past, the Titans are like 16 of 19 against the Colts. It's been a long time since they beat them.
Right.
Then again, Jacoby Brissett's shaken up. The Titans look like an entirely different team with an actual quarterback playing quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick it to you first. What do you think happens here?
I got a question for you before I answer. is this the game because these teams are so familiar with each other that you see Ryan Tannehill's magic kind of dwindle a little bit?
I don't necessarily know it's because they're familiar with each other. I think it might also just be because the Titans aren't a good enough organization to continue winning for any extended period of time. I think they're the team that wins 2 and then loses 1 because they're like, oh, we're a great team now. And I've said that about my team for a long time. I think they have a mentality issue of they don't have the killer instinct to be great every week like the Patriots do and some other teams. You could say Buffalo has had that killer instinct this year. There have been teams that have won consecutive games coming out and playing hard all the time. This might be the game the Titans go into it like Jacoby Brissett's shaken up, Marlon Mack broke his hand. We got it.
Yeah, that's going to be my biggest thing about this game is the loss of Marlon Mack, the beat-up T.Y. Hilton who's still trying to play as best he can, Jacoby Brissett being beat up with his knee and all that kind of stuff. He's just not the same player as he was before he went down with that injury this year. Remember, I was one of those guys that's saying he's quietly making a run for MVP quietly.
Michael, this one is in Indianapolis. Titans are on the road here. Yeah. All the bottom row that you're going to see are the home teams.
Yep. That being said, I'm going to take the Titans to win this game, even though I don't think Ryan Tannehill's magic's going to end. I just had to ask that question to Jake.
It definitely could be, but I don't know.
I'm picking the Titans to win this game.
I don't necessarily know that I'll qualify it as magic. I think they've just been playing better with a guy that can throw a little bit. I mean, he hasn't looked like Tom Brady, but he's looked good in spurts. The Titans are always slow to start.
It's magic. Man.
Then again, they lost this last matchup by 2 points when Marcus looked absolutely hapless. So if they get anywhere near Tannehill's usual performance here and they put 23 points on the board, that'll be enough to win this game. I'm going to go Titans too.
It's magic, man.
Magic? I hope so. I hope we could use some magic here in Nashville. But again, I don't feel good about this. I just don't. It's my team. I don't feel good about it.
The show took the Colts in the offseason.
Absolutely. Also, Ian saying he's got to go Tennessee. He thinks if Tennessee wins, it helps the Steelers. Well, they don't match up head-to-head. I don't know if do the Colts play the Steelers this year? I don't remember if they did. It's been a while. Either way, and Jacob is saying he's going with the Colts, again, coming off that bad loss, or I say bad, but that crucial loss they had against the Texans on Thursday night. The Colts are on 11 days rest here. They played on Thursday, and they've had almost a bye week going into this game. That also worries me. At home, Titans traveling, but I think the Titans are going to need this one. I think the offense is going to be enough to get the job done, and I'm hoping Jacoby Brissett is still shaken up to the point where the Titans defense take away the run game, and that's the end of it. A couple more of these comments here.
I guess we got to swap the Ravens and the 49ers game because...
I did put that up there backwards, but you're just going to have to assume it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to knock them all over. I'm going to knock them all over. So you're right. I messed that one up. My bad, guys. I do have Ravens at 49ers. 49ers at Ravens.
I do want to get to Michael Davis's comment. He said the Titans have a familiar Cowboys culture, a similar Cowboys culture. They overhype a couple of good games. He's a local guy here in Nashville, Michael is, and he says, listening to the local radio, the fans and the jockeys think they're the best thing since sliced bread right now.
But isn't that like always the case with your team on local radio though? Like they win a couple games and you're like, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're a great team. And then you lose a couple games and it's like, fire the coach, cut everybody. I mean, I will buy this that you're right. They overreact to it, but the national media didn't come out yesterday and talk about, oh, Cowboys lost or Titans lost on Thanksgiving. The Cowboys get shredded by everybody on a national level. Nobody's talking about the Titans outside of me. No, for real though. Again, they don't have the same level of expectation, which is why they get to go into some of these games quietly, trying to play their best. But at the very least, Tannehill scored 20 points in every game. The defense is still looking really good. I think as long as they continue that, the Titans should be okay in this one. I mean, they held Indy to 17 last time. They're almost as healthy. The only significant missing defensive player is Malcolm Butler.
Michael says the Titans win by 3. Let's get on to the next game where the Philadelphia Eagles go on the road against the Miami Dolphins. Now that the Cowboys have lost this game, this is a must-win game. Even though it was a must-win before, but now it's for sure a must-win game for the Eagles. Does Ryan Fitzpatrick and this Dolphins team in Miami have any chance of beating a limping Eagles team?
This is the 27th rated pass defense in the NFL right now for the Eagles. Yes, they have a chance. They could have some Fitz magic. This is the team that needs the magic you were just talking about here in the last game. If Ryan Fitzpatrick has a great game, he could beat the Eagles. The Eagles have looked terrible on offense as well. This needs to be the game that they go and maul a weakened defense that the Dolphins have, and we see the Eagles kind of bounce back. They have that performance. They're like, hey, you know what? even though we've got some injuries, even though everything else, we're still a good team, and this is like that confidence builder. That's what needs to happen in this game. If they win 17-3, Drew, I'm out on the Eagles for the rest of the year. I'm like, that's it.
So you're picking the Eagles?
I am picking the Eagles still, but you're asking me, do the Dolphins have any chance? They have a puncher's chance in like every game Ryan Fitzpatrick starts. It won't. I can never pick them to do it, but it could.
Ian's going for the upset, going the fence. Hey, Aguilar and Alshon Jeffrey is not on the injury report, meaning those two guys will be good to go. Carson Wentz needs help receiving. There's no doubt about it. I think the addition of those receivers is just going to be a little too much for this Miami team, and you're going to see the Eagles win this game, especially considering the pressure has now been put more back on them. Even though this was a must-win regardless, it is definitely more now that the Cowboys have lost that game to the Bills.
And I also think this Dolphins offensive line is going to struggle against the Eagles up front. I mean, that's still the heart and soul of this defense. Their secondary, even though it's not very good, Ryan Fitzpatrick has a chance to tear it up. I think he's going to be under pressure, and if you can get him to make a couple mistakes, the day is yours, right? And I think that's likely to be what happens, but you never know. So, like I said, my biggest takeaway, Miami is like, to me, a 35 to 40% chance of winning this game if Ryan Fitzpatrick comes out and has one of his bananas kind of showing that we see sometimes.
Michael says the Eagles need a wide receivers to step up. Let's not forget, man, they've been banged up.
But he's right.
But they do.
Yeah.
But they've been banged up.
They have. And
you
on
get
top
your
of
top three receivers taken out of your team, tell me how well you're going to be throwing the ball then.
Titans will be all right because we throw to like 48 different people. Nobody matters.
We have
here.
a top three.
It's true. Exactly. We've got a top 12. But, I mean, you're right. They've had a lot of injury at wide receiver, and it's tough going out there with two tight ends, and everyone knows that's who you're throwing to.
And that was
having
a joke on the Titans. If you didn't have Corey Davis,
A.J. Brown, and Adam Humphries
out there, you would be struggling a little bit.
I mean, Khalif Raymond and Tajay Sharp would probably look exactly the same. But that's okay. Jacob also says he hopes the Eagles lose that because it makes the Cowboys look even better and have a chance to get into the playoffs. You're right. I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're 100% rooting for the Dolphins here. This is one of those situations that if the Eagles win, you're back on track. And that December matchup they're going to have, I think it's the 20th or something like that, or the 25th or 28th or something. It won't be Christmas. But I think they match up late in the season. That's going to make that so much more valuable if the Eagles win this game.
Michael says their wide receivers and DBs are always banged up.
Yes.
Meaning that
they
should be used to this?
At least the DBs, there's not a whole lot of talent to miss. Outside of Ronald Darby, Avonte Maddox isn't going to play. That second-round pick who never lived up to the hype. I mean, their DBs aren't very good outside of Ronald Darby. And Ronald Darby is banged up. Has been all year long. But he's one of those guys that if he's out there and he's playing...
Sean is rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game against the Miami Dolphins.
Well, he's a Bills fan. You never want to see your division rival succeed.
Let's go. It's not the division. Oh, yeah, the Dolphins. I was like,
for the Bills.
My brain went. Anyways, move on to the next game. The Green Bay Packers go on the road to face the New York Giants.
Packers, easy. Ship it. Let's move on. No, I'm kidding. We don't want to jump over it.
The Packers were embarrassed.
Yeah. And I think that's going to make this that much worse because Aaron Rodgers versus a weak defense, he's going to bully somebody. Yeah. I really do think the Giants are in some trouble here defensively. The real question, can they do anything with this rebuilt offense? The offensive line's played pretty well. Not elite, but they've played pretty well and protected their rookie quarterback at least decently most of this year.
Right.
Are we going to see Daniel Jones under pressure from this just vaunted pass rush that the Packers have put together? Or did they have a good day? That, to me, is the Giants' takeaway. Can we protect Daniel Jones? Or do we need to improve more to kind of shut out some of the league's best pass rushes?
The only way they're going to do it is if Saquon Barkley creates enough space when running where it makes everyone cheat up because then they're going to quit blitzing. But I just don't see it. Saquon has been just a shadow of his self last year. He's not looked anywhere up to.
Well, he's been hurt too.
And
I think they rushed him back.
He was hurt last year too.
And remember, Dave Gettleman comes from the Panthers, and they don't know what the shelf life is.
My point is if he is not playing up to par, which he is not right now,
right?
Daniel Jones is going to be under duress.
But I am saying take him in this game if you have him in daily fantasy.
Really?
Yeah, Saquon, yeah. Packers have struggled against the run for a good chunk of this year.
I hope so.
The offensive line for the Giants are okay.
And I'm one of those.
This might be the week.
I'm one of those fantasy players that, like, when you're my first round pick, you're going to
start
play every
week.
single game.
Well, that's like a good fantasy player. Like, Don't get me wrong. If you hit on somebody if you hit a Phillip Lindsay out of like the 8th round or Jordy Nelson out of like round 15, you can be like, yeah, I can sub him in for my first round pick. Outside of that, your first round pick plays just about every week.
I want to bench him. So it must not be
You
a
can't
very
bench
good
him now.
fantasy player. I got the Packers winning this game. I think that they're embarrassed. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come out flinging the ball, but I think Daniel Jones is going to do a good job keeping up with them. I don't think this is going to be like a game that the Packers just get away with it, and it's like a 33-3 game or something like that, where there's just a huge deficit. I think it's going to be a close, tight game, and maybe the fourth quarter the Packers get a couple of touchdowns and put it away.
I disagree. I think the Packers run away a little bit early, and then we'll see Daniel Jones play well after that, and Saquon play well after that, because the Giants will be interested in getting done with it. I think it might just be the opposite of what you said. The Giants play well, but it'll be on like the back half of the game as opposed to like the front half of the game. I think this defense is in for a pounding. Like you said, they just got embarrassed. Everyone was asking, are the Packers any good after they lost to the 49ers? They're going to come out in this game and say, yeah, we are. And I just hate it's the Giants that have to take the slap in the face and have to play against them now. Now, Michael also says he hasn't been around for the show much this season. Well, we're glad you're back, man. He says, Andrew, do you miss Kareem Hunt yet? And do you think they should have held on to him?
No. I mean,
yeah,
I miss him. To be honest, I will say this, and I said this forever now. If he didn't get suspended and get kicked out that year, last year, I think the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl. I think Kareem Hunt was that one player that we could have got past the Patriots. That being said, it is what it is. Hindsight. Then we're looking at all the injuries and Kareem Hunt looking pretty decent as a second string
on a struggling team too.
A struggling team looking pretty decent. Yeah, man, it sucks. It's terrible, but at the same time, I don't need that trash in my team. It sucks that he lied. He just had to tell the truth. If he would tell the truth, he'd still be a Kansas City Chief.
So if he said, "Yeah, kick the shit out of her," you'd be like, "Hey, all right, all's forgiven."
I mean,
he didn't, though. If you watch this, that's my point. I don't know. Again, I think they overreacted.
If he would have said...
I still think the Chiefs overreacted.
He wouldn't have lied to him, and then he came out and you saw him, punt her head into a wall.
Then, yeah, but you didn't see him punt her head into a wall. You saw him, tap her with a... Okay, like I said, there's levels to all this stuff. I think the Chiefs overreacted a little bit, and I think they're paying the price for it.
If you would tap me like that, I'd get up and punch you in the face.
I don't think... Well, if you were that drunk and I, tapped you with my foot, you probably didn't even feel it.
True.
Honestly.
So 95% of my day.
Yeah, exactly. You probably wouldn't even feel it. Ian also says he would love to see the Giants get the win just because his Packers fan friend keeps bugging him for his money for the bet that he made with him saying the Lions were going to take the division. So he'd love to see his team lose. I understand that level of pettiness. I strive to achieve it myself daily. I'm with you, man. I hate it for the Lions, but they've been leading in every game this year to this point. So you're not that far off. You surprised us. I'm not going to lie. You had us nervous in the beginning. Dude, you didn't know what he's talking about?
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, after that, we're like,
that guy.
All right, Browns Steelers. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
You're taking the Packers. I'm taking the Packers.
Yes.
The world's taking the Packers. Maybe the Dolphins upset everybody. And it's going to be a
Giants?
fourth quarter. Whoever. Maybe they upset everybody.
Maybe both
maybe the Dolphins do too. But maybe the Giants upset the world. I just don't see it.
This is a game to watch. Only because of what was going on.
Thanks, Myles Garrett. Now I'm interested in this game. And the Steelers are in the 6th seed right now, right?
Yeah,
That's why we're watching it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not because of the fight. Kind of because of the fight.
Their head coaches, Mike Tomlin, Freddie Kitchens. Before those guys even touched the field to practice, he needed to sit down and say, listen, we're in the playoff hunt. You go out there and you make a selfish mistake of getting revenge, whatever you want to call it, and costing this team a victory, shouldn't even play. Shouldn't even be on this team. They should probably kick anybody off that does that. This should be... If this was a losing Browns team and a losing Steelers team and there's no chance at all in the playoffs, I kind of get it.
I think you still say it. No, I think you still say it.
You are saying it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But, I'm talking about the player shouldn't even be on this team. If they go out there and they want to... Listen, you guys are going to see these guys again. Mm-hmm. But this game is way too important.
Yes.
Sit there and go get a personal foul, give the team another chance to put points up against you and make your team lose.
Absolutely.
That's selfish.
I totally agree.
And you cannot do that. Beyond that, the world's eyes are on this game.
Do you know what the only problem is? There's about one side of the aisle is probably saying that, and that's the Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin's a good enough coach and experienced enough that he's probably saying that. I don't know that Freddie Kitchens is saying that. Freddie Kitchens, to me, has lost his locker room. I'm not sure he has the authority that, even if he goes out and says that it's going to make that much of a difference. I think the Steelers, again, for what they have and being on a second and third quarterback, the Steelers are leaps and bounds ahead of where they should be. The Browns have all the talent in the world. It's almost the flip of that coin. And they've underachieved to this point. I think Freddie Kitchens, you could go and say that. It ain't stopping anything. I think this game might have a chance of getting nasty again, Drew, simply for the fact that the Browns are going to control themselves. And even the Steelers. You can say, hey, control it, keep it under check. And then those penalties start coming in. Those late hits, those cheap shots start coming in from the Browns. The Steelers are going to react. You already know my thoughts. I said I hope the Browns lose every other game this season. After them coming out and supporting Myles Garrett for what he did, I was like, that worst take I've ever seen in sports ever, from both GM, ownership, fan base. I hope the Browns lose this game. Even though my team needs the Steelers to lose, I hope the Browns choke and we're finally done talking about how trash this season was, and I can stop talking about the Browns week in and week out.
Ian says, glad Duck is starting, hoping the Steelers come out with an anger and hunger they hadn't seen before. The Steelers said that they weren't going to allow any Garrett jerseys into Heinz Field. He doesn't agree with that, but he does say F Cleveland. He's excited for this game, like he hadn't been in the years in the past for a regular season game. He praised the Steelers killed them 72-0.
I think it's a plus if it's 27-0. I don't know if the Steelers with this offense get to 72, but I get where you're coming from.
So you got Steelers winning this game?
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers. Why not?
All right. Well, I'm actually going to go the Browns. I not because you're picking the Steelers. I still like the tandem of Chubb and Hunt. I like the way Chubb is running the ball. He's fierce with it. And I like the addition of Hunt and what he can do, creating, especially in the receiving back of it. Odell Beckham Jr. and Landry Jones. Not Landry Jones. I always say that.
Jarvis Landry.
I always do that.
Yeah. Same guy.
Yeah, same guy. They seem to be playing better. It seems to be making Baker Mayfield play better. And I think that's what's going to matter. If I was going to pick one team playing better than the other, it's the Browns right now. I honestly think the Steelers are just not playing that well.
I'm going to bet on the defense. I think the defense will be enough to step up. I know they didn't last time, but this time at home, I think the Steelers have the chance to get the job done. And I'm betting on the defense frustrating Baker Mayfield in this offense that should be playing better, all but for the offensive line. Yeah, they got every weapon under the sun. But again, you win and lose these games in the trenches. I think the Steelers win and lose this game, or win this game in the trenches as well. It'll be interesting to see. I know they wish they had Pouncey back for this one. I know it'll be the next week, but if they had Pouncey back, I wouldn't feel bad about it.
Steelers win this game just because of the emotion and all that kind of stuff. But right now, the Browns are playing better.
And Ian says, Drew. Listen to Jacob. That like sums up the whole show, right?
He told me he's never going to pick the Browns again because he's
mad
about
I said
it.
I hate the Browns and I hope they lose everything. But when they play Miami and all these other teams, I'm gonna have to take them. I mean, they could lose every other game from now to the end of time, and I don't know that I would hate it.
The Steelers fan.
Exactly.
Sorry, man. I don't care. To be honest with you, Steelers win. That's great. Makes no difference to me.
I do. I hope the Browns win. I just don't think they do here.
I legitimately think the Browns are going to win this game.
I think the Steelers are in position, and I think the Steelers are probably angrier about that situation than the Browns are, and I think that's going to show.
I don't know.
Even if I think the Browns are probably more talented.
I don't know about that. Their best player, arguably their best player, is no longer there because of one of the other teammates.
They hit my quarterback over the head with his own helmet. Unhelmeted head with his own helmet.
Fine.
Did you see him play last week? Did he look fine to you?
Well,
he got benched for Hodges.
That's because he's, not all the way there before that. He probably actually gave a little bit of brain cells an extra jolt.
Sean, nobody asked you, okay? So you can keep those comments to yourself.
He said, Jacob, listen to Drew.
Keep it to yourself. I'm just kidding, Sean. We're kidding. But that's okay. We'll move on. We'll talk about our next game. This, to me, I'm watching it for the sheer fact of it's like going to high school again. You're like, there's a fight breaking out today. I'm just going to hang around I'm going to loiter and watch this because something's going down. And I think something goes down. I don't know if these teams have the discipline to not have some sort of shakeout. It probably won't. It won't be the same level.
Yeah.
But something's going to happen.
Let's go to the next game because we got to talk about it. The Redskins on the road against the Carolina Panthers. A must win.
For the Panthers.
If I could not burp.
A must not win for the Redskins because if they win this one, man, that picks out the window. We're going to have pick 8. There's a bunch of teams behind us. Again, the Redskins are still up in the air for a quarterback. I think Dwayne Haskins has something to prove here. I'm not wild about him missing his kneel downs because he was taking selfies with the fans last week too. Right? Rookie mistake, but the most rookie of mistakes. Like, how is the head coach or the offensive coordinator not on his ass? Like,
Right.
hey, you need to be on the field here in like 2 minutes.
Trying to think of like other funny like rookie mistakes. There was the whole like hot dog incident. Who was that?
Sanchez bought hot dogs, right? Was
Yeah,
it
it
Mark
was
Sanchez, where he's like, yeah, give me one of them. Yeah.
But he didn't miss any playtime.
Yeah.
He was just eating a hot dog on the sideline.
Yeah. He butt fumbled, but that wasn't as a rookie.
That's not his fault either.
Well, don't do a behind the back thing.
Have you seen how big that guy's butt was?
No, I wasn't paying
Everyone
attention.
hits
I'll
it.
take your word for it.
You saw the replay 20 billion times that year. How did you not see it?
And Jacob says, who do you take, Jake? The Browns or the Steelers? I took the Steelers, Jacob. Drew took the Browns. Even though I think this one's going to be close, I think the defense makes a difference at home. It's a close game on the road.
Yeah.
I think it stays the opposite direction for the Steelers. It's hard to beat a team twice in a year.
Ian says, at least you didn't give himself a concussion by bringing his head against the wall during a celebration. Who was that? I can't remember who that was.
I remember Stephen Tulloch. There have been some bad celebrations for the Lions. Tore his own ACL celebrating an interception. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and
Lamar
Howie
Houston.
Kendrick for baseball. If we're shifting, if we're going across the aisle and talking about other sports,
Yeah.
Howie Kendrick hits a home run. The whole crowd right there at home plate because it was a walk-off, jumps on the plate, tears his own leg because everyone piles on top of him. So, yeah, it happens.
Lamar Houston getting a sack. I think it was against Brady, and they were down by like 30 points, and he sacked Brady and like celebrated on the 50-yard line and tore his ACL. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Jacob says he'll have to agree with Drew because he thinks the Browns are going to win.
We'll see. I'm not going to call you guys crazy for picking the Browns. This is close to a coin toss. I think it's 55-45. This is where the home field matters to me.
Let's talk about the next game here. Is there any point? I get the Redskins got a win last week, and
I don't care. I
Does
don't know
it-
how
does it
they
make
did it, and
any
more than that,
difference?
I don't know how you picked
Does it
them.
make any difference the way Christian McCaffrey's playing, the way DJ Moore's playing, the way Curtis Samuel's playing, the way that Kyle Allen's playing right now on the offensive side of the ball
Yeah, they should maul them.
is playing really well.
Well, for 1 week for Allen. I mean, before that, we were like, this guy can't stop throwing interceptions.
It was 2-3 weeks, and then before that, it was great. So
It was about 4 bad weeks
he
for
put
Allen.
up 31 points against the Saints team.
Yeah,
and
no,
brought
I
it into
know.
the fourth quarter and almost won the game.
And he had a good week. I'm with you, and I want to say
So
that
does
again. My point is, the Redskins don't have the guys that are going to make him have a bad week. Like, he may throw 4 interception-worthy turnover passes, and then none of them will get converted, or like they get 1 out of the 4, and then the Panthers are fine. They need to win this game. They're going to win this game. The defense is good enough. The secondary is good enough. I mean, Terry McLaurin probably puts up 100 yards here, but beyond that, I don't think anyone on the Redskins succeed.
Ian says it was one of the quarterbacks of Washington that did that. I'm blanking out.
Going back to Dwayne Haskins, or what are we talking
No,
about? Or
I'm
the
about-
concussion
Yeah,
thing?
the concussion thing.
Okay. And Ian's also saying he's going Tampa Bay. He thinks Winston has a good game for him. Jumping the gun again. But,
He is jumping in. Well, we both got the Carolina Panthers winning that game.
yeah, they need to. And the Redskins, if they lose it, again, they need that too.
Yeah.
Everybody wins, right?
Don't forget to write that down because, we might think that you went the Redskins.
Yeah, I know. I'll get it in there. Don't worry. Just go ahead and talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers while I write down this important information.
Man, Tampa Bay going on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars have looked absolutely terrible since bringing in Nick Foles. Is it the lack of chemistry? Is it the belief of the team kind of wants Minshew there? Like, there is something going on.
No, it's very simple. It's what I just said about, who was it when I was talking about...
Is it that simple, though?
It is. They're not protecting Nick Foles, and he has much less scrambling value than
The
Gardner Minshew
offensive
does.
line was playing a lot better with Minshew.
I disagree. I mean, Minshew was under pressure,
Did you
but he
see-
had the
did you
ability
see
to
Leonard
escape.
Fournette put up 200 yards rushing?
Well, in one game. Okay, yeah, write it off. What game was that? Who did they play?
I don't
Do you remember? Was it the
remember,
Bengals
but
for
he's
that
been
one?
playing
I don't
pretty
remember.
well.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's not because Gardner Minshew's not starting. It's because Gardner Minshew has more tools to play with a bad offensive line.
But
Nick
who's
Foles
the more
doesn't have those
talented
tools.
quarterback?
Well, that's what they need to figure out, and that's why Nick Foles is going to start here. But my moral of the story is you can't say Gardner Minshew is better than Nick Foles.
I didn't say that.
I know, but let me finish. You can't say that one is better than the other when you don't protect Nick Foles. Nick Foles' game is I'm going to stand here and I'm going to throw it. If you don't protect him, bad things are going to happen, and that's
Right.
what happened. That's what's happened the past couple weeks. Gardner Minshew has a lot more mobility. He has a lot more scrambling ability. If the Jaguars were interested in winning this game, the best quarterback to play is Gardner Minshew, and that's just because of his ability to avoid the rush. And that's been the case. But they need to see if we protect Nick Foles. Can he make a couple special plays? And he has done that. He's had, in both of these games, he's had about 2 drives where you're like, wow, that looked pretty good. He marched them all the way down the field. The Jaguars need to ask themselves, if we can turn that 2 drives into 5 drives because our offensive line gets better, are we better with Nick Foles? And that's what the rest of this year is about.
Yeah, no doubt.
Does Nick Foles give them the best chance to win this particular game? No, he does not.
I don't think
But I want to see 2 more drives on Nick Foles.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think any quarterback for the Jags is gonna do well against this. I mean, the Bucs are gonna come out. They're gonna put up points quick. They're gonna put up with throwing the ball, and each time they're gonna get the ball, they're gonna be putting pressure on that defense. Yeah, the defense might turn the ball over because it's Winston. You might have 4 touchdowns and 3 picks, but it's the fact that they can put up 28 points, and you're asking the Jags right now, with their offense looking terrible. And you got to remember, the Bucs have a great run defense right now. Whether they second, third?
Second.
I mean, they're looking really good.
Going into last week, they might be third or something now.
So Fournette's going to have a little bit of an issue trying to find some ground, some space there. I just don't see it. I don't think it matters who it is. I think the Bucs win this game.
I think Gardner Minshew could beat them because, again, the secondary's still not great. He'll be mobile enough to avoid the pass rush for long enough. But I'm with you. With Nick Foles, it's Buccaneers. I'm with you here for this week. But I think you have to play Foles because you got to see what that $80 million you spent in the offseason bought you. And even that's not all guaranteed. I know that. You know that. Everybody knows that. But you need to say, I want to see 2 more drives, like I saw against the Titans, like I saw against the week before where they played. I can't remember who they played against, but the Jaguars have had 2 great drives out of Nick Foles every week that they're saying, hey, you know what? If we protect him a little bit, those 2 drives turn into 4 or 5, and we win a lot of games with this defense. That's what they need to see here. I want to see 2 more great drives out of Nick Foles. As for the rest of this game, the Buccaneers need to win this one for their own kind of sake. I think Winston's trying to prove himself and say, hey, I deserve a job next year. Maybe the Buccaneers are dumb enough to pay me some money. Maybe some other team's dumb enough to try to make me a bridge quarterback. But he's going to have something to prove in this game. And I think he's going to come out and he's going to do it. The Jags defense hasn't been the same. More than that, they've allowed 700 rushing yards in the past 3 weeks. Averaging over 200 yards rushing in the past 3 weeks. Peyton Barber might have a decent day here. Ronald Jones might have a decent day here. They might be able to run for the first time in Tampa Bay history, at least since they went to the Super Bowl, against the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. So, yeah, I picked Jacksonville to lose this one. Saying all that and all the arrows pointing towards Tampa Bay, the Jags probably win. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay anyway.
All right, let's go on to the next game where
We hit a couple comments and then we'll move on, I promise. Ian says that I lost my spot because it didn't scroll down with me. Jacob says, you have to keep in mind that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did beat the Rams. Same scenario. The offensive line, not up to par. I think the Jags are a little bit better than the Rams are on the offensive line, which is crazy to say, right?
Yeah.
But right now, the Rams' offensive line's abysmal. It's absolutely trash, and that's why they're losing games. It's going to be the same story, and I think that's why Tampa Bay wins. So very astute of you to point that out. Also, Ian says Tampa Bay will be a contender if they sign the Red Rocket in the offseason. There's a lot of things to fix. Andy Dalton, very much like Nick Foles, needs to be protected. Tampa Bay does not have the guys to protect a quarterback. Much like Winston. Winston would be a better player if they protected him. Maybe not great, because I think he makes too many mistakes, but he would be better than what we're seeing right now. Fewer interceptions at least, if they protected him.
The only way Winston's playing better is he had a brick wall in front of him. They had to run around it. And he knew exactly how much time he's going to have. I have seen that guy have a clean pocket, and then finally pressure got to him, and then he still threw an interception.
Sure. And I'm with you. I'm with you. But then again, you look at what Tampa's offensive line has done, and you're like, we could probably see a better Jameis Winston than we're seeing right now. So, again, yeah, I'm with you, but I think Andy Dalton would be an improvement, but is he night and day a great player because they sign him? No, because they need to protect him too. And guess what Tampa has not been able to do, signing some of the worst offensive linemen to bad deals.
All right, let's go to the next game. The 49ers go on the road against the Ravens. I know, guys, we messed up on our cans. We're sorry. We apologize. We're human. This is the game of the week.
No, you can put the blame where it needs to. I messed it up.
You what?
You
fumbled?
Flubbed it up.
You fumbled the ball? This is the game of the week. It's crazy. They did not push this game back. This is not a game that they changed up. It kind of blows my mind. This should have been a Sunday night game or something. That being said, it is what it is. A lot of the nation is going to miss this game unless you guys have an NFL ticket or know how to get it on the internet for free.
It's called Reddit. Look it up.
I'm not putting names out there.
I am. You want to sail the 7 seas, just jump on Reddit. You can find any NFL game. Never mind. Let's move on.
So, I'm going to give you this. This is what I think. I think you got literally probably the two best teams in the NFL playing each other this week. If this was in San Francisco, Niners win. If this is in Baltimore, Baltimore's win. It's in Baltimore. They're going to win this game. Not only are they going to win this game, I think they're going to put up points early. It's going to be a quick outing because you're going to see some of that big play scenario, and then the 49ers are going to tighten it up, and then it's going to just be a slow crawl back into the game, and it's going to stay real close and tight all the way through it. I think you're going to see exactly what you saw out of Baltimore last week where they put up 14 points real quick. I'm not saying it's 14. It might be a touchdown because 7 points in this game is huge margins because I think both these teams do the exact same thing and play each other very well in similar kind of games. Minus Lamar Jackson's a running quarterback, and Jimmy G's a throwing quarterback.
The other takeaway I have for this game is the 49ers probably have more to play for. The Ravens aren't going to get run down by the Steelers. We don't think they're going to get run down by the Browns or the Bengals. The 49ers are very realistically playing for the division lead with the Seahawks. I think the 49ers win this game because they need to win it more than the Ravens do. That being said, it could go either way. I think this is a coin toss. I like that the 49ers have to travel on the road here for this one because I've seen them play well at home. I'll go off the reservation a little bit. Even though I like the Ravens and I like them at home, I'm gonna pick the 49ers because I think it's so close that I just want to disagree with you.
It's fine.
I'm going to go 49ers here.
Whatever. You got a game to catch up anyways.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do if you count this week. The week's not over yet, Drew. I wouldn't count them chickens before they hatch.
And I'm a game up.
You're not? Not yet. The week's not over yet. We don't count the score until the week's over. You don't count the score of the first quarter.
This you do. It's still a score. Still a great game, guys. I think it's a must watch. Guys, figure out how
the best 1 o'clock game.
Figure out how to watch it. It's worth your time watching it.
We're with you, and it's too bad it's an early game. There's no reason it's not flexed at 3 o'clock. There's no reason it's not flexed Sunday night. Honestly, the Patriots-Texans, it's going to be a good game.
There must be something going on in Baltimore Stadium Sunday night.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think the NFL is just like, it's the Patriots and people like them. I don't know.
Give us an option to watch these games. It's crazy.
At least 3 o'clock, right? Can we move Raiders-Chiefs to early, and then we move the other one late? I know the Chiefs get a lot of late games, but both of those teams have 6 wins. Can we talk about like putting the two, like one and lost,
but they're
one and two lost
rivals. Teams? It's more like.
But this is like AFC versus NFC. This could be the Super Bowl.
It's more like move the Chargers.
This could be Rams. This could be the Rams-Chiefs game from last season. You remember that game?
And Broncos game.
Fine, pick one and move them.
Maybe it's because the AFC West is just so great.
Well, it's also because they're out west and they don't want to get up that early. So I'm with you there. It's okay. Let's talk about Rams-Cardinals.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about how the Rams are going to win this game. And how the Cardinals, even though they've played better, probably won't be enough to beat a team like the Rams. I think Jared Goff's going to struggle here, too. I think it's going to be close. I think teams are going to be like, the Rams suck. They're not a good team anymore. Don't like them. But I think that's because the Cardinals' defensive line is going to punish this Rams' offensive line. And I think there's going to be a lot of that. But it's going to be the same on the other side. The Rams' defense should be able to keep Kyler Murray and company in check. As long as that offensive line has been as porous as it's been, I think Kyler Murray's going to struggle here. He's not going to be quite as good as the Rams' offense is with Jared Goff struggling under pressure. 27-24 here.
This is a tough game for me to pick. It honestly is. And
good thing I went first.
Yeah, I'm good with you picking first because you picked the Rams. I'm going to pick the Cardinals to win this game. The Rams just faced an athletic quarterback in Lamar Jackson, and I know that Kyler Murray does not have that kind of speed, but
he's not slow.
Maybe the Cardinals have kind of looked at this and said, "Oh, that's how we're going to do it," and maybe they changed it up a little bit. It's an in-division rival. Cardinals have played the Rams tough in the past. They won last year against them. I think, if I remember, when the Rams made their way to the playoffs, the Cardinals upset them, and that was with Josh Rosen. Can you imagine what they could do with Kyler Murray and what this offense now has kind of found itself into? Maybe you see a lot of quick points. Maybe the Rams are just a huge decline, even though I think it's still going to be close. You got players like Aaron Donald and Todd Gurley who, as long as they give him the rock more than 20 times, this team's tough to beat. I just think because it's a division rival and the Cardinals want to just sit there and say, hey, you're not making the playoffs because you got to get through us, they upset them.
Here's the spoiler. It could happen. I don't think it does, but I think it could happen. We'll move on. We'll talk about the Chargers and Broncos here. Speaking of spoilers, are the Chargers laid to rest after this week?
Ian says he agrees with Drew. Wait, what? I know.
What does the world come to? But then again, Ian also loves all the underdogs, and you took one.
It's true.
There you go. You took one.
Yeah.
So Of course he's going to agree with you there. Broncos-Chargers.
Yeah.
The best game to watch at 3 o'clock.
They should have
Can
pushed
we
this
disagree on
one
that?
to Sunday night, huh?
Yeah.
So Drew
Look
Lock,
out.
I think, is getting the start. If I remember correctly.
Look out.
He's getting all the first-team reps in practice. I don't know if they've actually officially named the starter, but when that's usually happening, that usually means he's going to get the start.
Can we just punt the Broncos here? Can we just...
You don't believe in Philip Lindsay?
No, what I don't believe is not naming your quarterback on Friday. That's what I don't believe in. It's Friday night.
They might have.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, they might have.
I haven't seen it
honestly
either.
Don't know.
And I get it. Brandon Allen struggled last week, but why did you go with him for the past 3 weeks?
Because Drew Lock was hurt. Well, he was coming off of injury reserve.
Just like Joe Flacco's hurt.
Yeah.
I know Locke was more significantly hurt beforehand.
Yeah. I don't know, man. To be honest,
They'll probably win this game because I'm not going to take them. They'll probably win this game because that's been my luck here lately. I'm going to take the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers.
Only because I think the Broncos are stupid. And that's all I can say. And I'm sorry if you're a Broncos fan, but man, what have you guys been doing this year? Right? I mean, they can't run the ball. They can't pass the ball. Some guys look good in spurts. Some guys don't. I mean, they let the Vikings come back from 20 points down. I just don't believe in what they're doing. I can't do it.
What I know what you're really excited to see is that Phillip Rivers fist bump in the air as they get a victory out the field.
And he will. I don't care that they're like 4-23. Phillip Rivers is still going to flex on every Broncos fan at
look
this.
like Phillip Rivers?
I know. I am that handsome. I will say this. At the very least for the Chargers, I think this game, even though they're dead in the water, and nobody's admitted it, but they're dead in the water. They're not going to catch the Chiefs. They're not going to catch the Raiders. They are going to go into this game thinking they can win it and thinking that, hey, if we win this one, we're not dead yet. We have a chance to win the AFC West. Realistically, does that happen? No. But I think they're going to go into this a little more hungry than the Broncos do. So I'm going to say that's the difference here.
Ian says this might be a tie. He sees both teams as the same. I gotta give you that. I think
Chargers have underachieved
I think there's
due
more
to
talent on the Chargers team.
I think they've underachieved due to injury. I think if they had Derwin James and the defense was playing a little bit tighter, and they haven't quite had their offensive line as terrible as it's been, the Chargers probably win this game hands down, and they're probably much better, kind of like we saw last year. But I'm with you. Both these teams are afterthoughts at this point in the season. At this point, we're playing for draft position.
Sean says he has a question. He thinks the Buffalo Bills will try to go to the Super Bowl. It will be Josh Allen's first Super Bowl with the Buffalo Bills. What do we think?
Well, everybody's trying to go to the Super Bowl. Right now, the Broncos are trying to go to the Super Bowl.
Sean, let me just tell you this, man. Accept being an underdog. Accept not being the top guy that everyone's trying to take off. Because when like the Patriots, even the Chiefs for that matter, you get the best out of teams because they know that that team in front of them is considered a better team in the league. You are 9-3 with your team. You're very overachieving. This is a very overachieved record for the Buffalo Bills, man.
Sure.
What did we have them during the offseason? What
2-14, I think.
No, we
I'm
did
kidding.
not.
I don't remember, but I'll look it up.
But dude, this is huge for you guys, man. You guys should honestly be excited about this. And in my opinion, just accept it. Don't let anyone sit there and tell you that, oh, this is such a great team. Accept being the underdog. Accept being quietly
6-10.
Yeah, 6-10. We had them at 6-10, man. They obviously already beat that. So
there's still time.
So, dude, accept it. I would not get too excited about a Super Bowl, but that's just because they're good.
Show me a playoff win. That's what I want to see. Build on this.
They're good to me, but they're not good enough to win in the playoffs.
Show me a playoff win. If you get one, and then even if you get destroyed the next one, I want to see a young quarterback win a playoff game so that next year when you get there, if you get there, but next year when you get there, you can say, okay, we've got the experience. The team got a little bit better. We're ready to win a Super Bowl now. I don't think it's a Super Bowl or bust. I know they're 9-3. That's exciting, but you don't get to play this week of a schedule every year. Eventually, I know that the Jets might not turn around, and the Dolphins might not turn around, and the Patriots will always be there.
You got 4 more games played, too.
Exactly. Beyond that, the rest of the schedule usually stays tougher than what you're seeing right now. I think the Bills need to win a playoff game at the very least this year to consider the season a success. Did I get that out there?
Yeah. So I think we're both going Chargers.
Yeah.
We picked during the hot season, we picked the Broncos. Those guys are drunk.
You just watch. We're going to be right.
I know.
In the offseason.
Let's go to the flex game. The Oakland Raiders go on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. obviously, you guys know I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to tell you why. Derek Carr has never played well in Kansas City. It's always been a struggle for him there. This is a bye week. We all know the stats. Andy Reid plays really well out of the bye week. He has a very huge win-to-loss ratio, being more positive towards the win side of it. We all kind of figured that at this point in time, we thought that this would be a tied AFC West. You just saw a very poor outing against the Jets for the Raiders, but I don't think it's going to benefit them at all. I know they're embarrassed, but it's bad timing. It's bad timing.
Why does this feel like there's upset written all over this for me? I'm not going to do it, but so here's what I want to see. When I was thinking about this game beforehand, I said I want to see the Chiefs come out, and I want to see them light up the scoreboard. I want to see them play with the kind of urgency that a team that's 6-4, 6-5 right now.
Yeah.
That needs to be playing with. Yeah, 6-5. I want to see that kind of urgency, but I haven't seen that out of them this year. And they've had some injuries, they've had some stuff, but it's almost like the Chiefs have said, "We're a great team. We're so awesome. We don't need to play hard every week." And the Raiders have been the opposite of that. I think the Raiders are under-talented for what their record is.
Yeah.
Why does it feel like the Raiders getting embarrassed last week are going to come into this game like, dude, we need this one?
No,
and the Chiefs might come in there saying, it's the Raiders. We're good. We'll be fine. That's what I'm most worried about. I think the Chiefs, even though I'm taking them, I'm going to take the Chiefs. I want to see the Chiefs kind of recalibrate and say, we're 6-5 in the AFC, the weak conference. We're 6-5 right now. When the Patriots are 10-1 with all their struggles, and we're seeing the Ravens and the Bills succeed ahead of us, I think they need to come out and acknowledge that, hey, the first part of this season has not gone the way we wanted it to. It's time to correct that, and time to, it's time to get the ball rolling, because we're going to be going into the playoffs. We're going to need some rhythm here. What I'm most worried about, and I know Andy Reid's great coming off the bye, but can he get this team motivated off the bye playing a team like Oakland? Because if they come out flat and Oakland comes out playing hard, this might be the game you see Oakland upset them. And again, every time I discount the Raiders, they come back and surprise me. So that's what I'm worried about picking them here.
100%. You're 100% right. And I know I've talked about this many times coming up to this week. I was like, it wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs lose this game. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Maybe the Chiefs are overlooking the Raiders because they're like, we could beat you. We beat you earlier this year. We'll beat you again. And they're focusing on the Patriots next week. Maybe that's what they're all focused on. But this Chiefs team is finally healthy. The only person they're missing is Damon Williams. He's not going to be there with a broken rib. But everywhere else, they're healthy. I mean, this team is finally kind of back together where they were week one. And what'd you see them out of week one? Firing on all cylinders.
I hope you're right.
So I think this is exactly what you're going to get from them. It's like a fresh start. It's the right time to have a bye
sort of.
week.
I mean, I'd like the Titans to make the playoffs and the Chiefs to not, so I don't have to face them. But I get you. As a Chiefs perspective.
It's a fresh start for the Chiefs team and exactly what they needed to do to get healthy for this game. But I really hope they're not overlooking them because this Oakland team is going to come out and give them everything they got. Because if they don't, they're that much further off of being in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Jets game to me almost just times this by 10. If they beat the Jets last week and they're like, oh, hey, we're going into this game.
Yeah. We're tied in the AFC
you lose
West.
here, the Chiefs lose to somebody else like the Patriots, and we crawl our way back into it. I think they're looking at this one like, this is it. We can't let them beat us twice because then they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders are going to come out and we're going to see everything. Even though they had a bad week last week, we're going to see everything they've got. So everything points to the Chiefs. And every time everything points to one team, I'm like, it's the NFL any given Sunday.
Ian saying he's going to Kansas City. Got to knock out Oakland lower. Any team that can help the Steelers show root for, go for Kansas City. I agree, man. Go for it.
I do too. Titans are looking to get that 6th spot, so I'm with you. Go Chiefs this week.
Well, you got to beat the Steelers, though.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about it. We'll be all right. I mean, they could still beat Houston. They play Houston twice. I did pick the Steelers.
You picked the Steelers.
This isn't the week. It's coming, but this isn't the week for the Steelers. Don't worry. The Titans will be fine.
All right, guys.
I'm kidding. They're not going to make it.
That's got to be it for
9-7.
us.
Here we go.
That's got to be it for us, man. I got to work early.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It was a good show. I had a lot of fun.
Show.
Special thanks before we do final thoughts.
Yes. Sean, thank you so much for being part of the show, man. Chris, Michael, Martavius, Will, Justin, Michael, Jacob, Ian. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Sean wants to know about Eli Manning. This will be my final thought. Eli Manning will find a team as a second-string quarterback, and there's a chance we see him again when somebody gets hurt. Beyond that, nobody is going to sign Eli Manning to be their starter. Nobody. So I know he's done a lot of good things for the Giants.
Yeah, more than likely not a starter. Maybe the Broncos?
Cam Newton, Andy Dalton.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe
it
the
would
Broncos. Well, he never ruled the Broncos out.
Another Eli brother. Let's go, or Eli Manning brother.
Can't happen. Can't happen. Nobody's going to take Eli as a starter. That's all I can say, Sean. Have a great weekend. Again, we'll be back on Sunday, 7:45 Eastern.
Read Ian's mind. He said, "Have a great weekend and be safe."
I read his comment because I was looking at it.
Huh.
Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Sunday, 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central, if this time I can get through my spiel. We'll be back to talk about all this action as well as the Sunday and Monday night football game. Drew?
I broke his spiel. See ya.
Okay.